onto your very doorsteps the rudiment of democracy from this platform, Democracy 45. My name is Basi Basi.
And I am Odinaka Chukwuhianacho, wishing you a very good weekend and also hope you enjoy this program.
All right, last week, don't forget that we had promised you that we will be anchoring on a series. And the series is that we are tired of every time, each moment, again and now, we come to talk about the different challenges, the several challenges we are facing as a country, Nigeria. That the time is now for us to speak no further on the challenges we are facing as a country. Because if you call any child down the street, the child will tell you one or two of the challenges we are facing as a country. So there is need, therefore, that we focus on the way forward. If you ask, yes, we have insecurity in the country, we have economic challenges, we have several, you can mention them. What is the way forward? So on Democracy 45 here in KBC, we had chosen to discuss on the way forward as a country, having become aware of all these challenges. Don't forget that we had said that our focus will be on at the national level. We'll bring it down to the state level, and we'll get it down even to the grassroots. They call it local government councils. So today, we will still focus at the national level. The last week we discussed on the Arusha report, wherein they had mentioned that there is need, as far as we are taking steps to cut the cost of governance, that there is need to merge agencies of government, both statutory and non-statutory agencies. According to them, we have about 541, and there is need to reduce it to about 161. Today, on the series, Nigeria's several challenges, the way forward, we will be looking at the issue of insecurity in the country. Don't forget that as we speak, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the governors of the 36 states met some time ago discussing on the need to have state police. And modalities are on top gear and in place for all the states to have a state police in the several states making up this country. Already we have the we have the Bube Agu, several of them across the southwest, the south, southeast. Mention them in this part of the south. Though we don't have what we may term a security outfit spread out like that, but some state government have established commissions or ministries that is saddled with the responsibility of looking into internal security of other states. Well, as we move ahead, we will be giving you information on all of these. But today, we have a public affairs analyst. We have one who is so passionate about things that happens around him and within the country and even outside the country, who is here with us this morning to bear his mind and bear his thoughts on these issues, and particularly at the way forward as a country as we hope to tackle insecurity in this country. Without much ado, please join me as we welcome Otueko Ekere, social critic, public affairs analyst. Otueko, good to have you today.
Good morning, Basi. Good morning, Odinaka, and good morning. Happy weekend. I mean, we are supposed to start having our happy hour. I don't know why.
The happy hour had long begun.
But sure. We don't know where, because the governor gave us, in fact, this is one of the things the governor was being talked about when he was campaigning. Even at some national level, they talked about the happy hour on several occasions.
This happy hour is in two flanks.
Okay.
One private happy hour.
Okay.
You want to celebrate it privately, and the second one is the public one.
Okay.
And you consult me if you need to know where the happy hour is taking place. I have the information and I can give you. All right, so good to have you again, Otueko Ekere. Yes. We're happy to have you. Now, let's quickly look into this issue of insecurity in the country. One of the reasons Nigeria is where it is now. Several experts have come to say that it is because of the challenge of insecurity in the country, and that's why we are not where we should be as far as development and progress is concerned. We have, fortunately, security practices as far as the country is concerned. We have the Nigerian police force that is really down with the grassroots people. We have the Nigerian civil defense. We have the Nigerian civil defense corps. We have, if you move, let's look at the military. We have the Nigerian Army, we have the Nigerian Navy, we have the Nigerian Air Force, and we even have intelligence agencies like the National Intelligence Agency, and we have all of these. But yet, we still have a challenge of insecurity in the country. Odinaka called my attention to the information going round where we have Boko Haram invade IDP camps in Borno State and kidnapped more than 300 people in this country. Otweko, how would you want to weigh in on this issue?
Yeah, I think what we need to look at is that it's not the structure we put in place that will solve the problem of, say, insecurity, because at the back of most of our challenges we have in Nigeria today, I think it is insecurity. I think it should be the political will of the persons in power. Why I'm saying so is that recently we have this young man in one of the countries in Latin America called El Salvador, and he became the president of El Salvador. I think he was 37 when he became in 2019, and El Salvador was a murder capital of the world. That is, we don't see killings the way they had there. There is a terrorist, not a terrorist, a criminal organization called MS-13 that started in the US. There's a long story about the MS-13 stuff. It was started by El Salvadorans. You know, America sponsored the war, a 10-year civil war during the Cold War in El Salvador. And those they sponsored who migrated to America from what was called MS-13. And America threw them out of the country when they became too much for them to handle. And they went back to El Salvador and then became so much of a problem to that country. And El Salvador became the murder capital of the world. But when this young man came into power in 2019, there are steps he took. You know, initially, he didn't do anything. But when there was 6,000 murders in just a day, we have never seen that kind, even with terrorism in Nigeria. 6,000 murders. The man took a step, you know, had this state of emergency, and then he cleared out all the criminals in that country. Today, El Salvador has the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. From being the murder capital of the world to the safest country, safer than America, safer than Canada, safer than Brazil, safer than Argentina, safer than any country you can think of in Latin America. You understand me? Because the man had that political will to take a step. So what you see in Nigeria is not having structure. The problem with Nigeria has always been throwing structure at a problem. Okay, let us make more laws. Let us form more policies. Let us do this. You know, it's just like...
I'm very sorry to interject. Just before we get into that, let's lay a little bit of foundation. I heard you talked about sponsorship of crime. Let me ask you this question. It wasn't like this before now, but as each day passes by, it appears it's becoming more than what we can chew. You have a whole bus, people inside the whole bus, more than 30-something, 50 being kidnapped at a swoop. You think in Nigeria there is a third factor? Issue talking about issue of sponsorship of crime and terrorism.
Certainly we have it. Look, let us just look at Nigeria over the years, how we have digressed first. You know, I remember when Obasanjo came to Akwa Ibom, I think he drove in a convoy from Abuja on the road when the road was good, you know, and not that good, but was far better than what we are seeing today. He drove on a convoy. He used to drive to other states, but today not even the president can afford, can dare to drive on a Nigerian road to any state. They fly. You see the point? So the security situation in Nigeria is not getting better, it is getting worse. And the fact is that our leaders are not thinking out of the box. So you're talking about sponsorship. The more things get better. You know, sociologists have this saying that crime and poverty has got a one-to-one relationship. You understand? If you look at what is happening in, say, like Niger Republic, like Burkina Faso, as we speak now, what the leaders there are doing is because most of those young men joined these terrorist organizations because they didn't have what to do. You know, the sponsors were coming in, and let me tell you one thing: even in Nigeria today, sponsorship is coming from outside the country to sponsor terrorism in Nigeria. Now, even America has accused United Arab Emirates of sponsoring terrorism in the West African sub-region, Nigerian included. Is it the point? And there are frontmen here in Nigeria who are doing that job. The money is sent to them to sponsor. They do it through what they call charity. This is Islamic charity, and they use it to sponsor this. So you have sponsors, you have Nigerian players whom the government does not seem to have the political will to even call them to question. We have men who have been going into the forest to meet terrorists and negotiate with them, and even come out in the open to speak on their behalf. It's only recently we have not been seeing them.
So, Mr. Tuekong, are you saying that this terrorist message, they're sending us a clear message that they can operate anywhere they want in Nigeria?
Well, yes, certainly. That's what they have been doing over the years. Have they not been operating anywhere they want? Have you seen anyone? You see audio messages, audio information coming out from the military. We have not seen, even yesterday they were talking about, we have caught this person, we've caught this person. Show me one of them. The only person who is catching somebody, and somebody you can say is true, is what His Excellency, former Governor Wike, is doing in Abuja. We saw the faces of the people. We see monies being put on. Okay, we need this person to be caught. Anybody that has information, give. The rest we don't see. There is nowhere on earth that you see in a government where terrorists are being are claimed to be reformed, and then they are put back in they are put in the security. That never happens anywhere. It is only in Nigeria.
You're taking us quite fast. You are taking us quite fast into finding solutions to this, because we naturally needed to lay foundation,
yes,
so that we know what solutions we can provide. But before we discuss on some steps taken, but you know, Nigerian government has come to say that at no point in time have they absorbed terrorists into Nigerian security practices. Nowhere. Well, some pundits have said, look, we have some persons whom they call repentant Boko Haram, who have been taken into the Nigerian security system. But the federal government said that has not happened. But let's leave that aside and discuss way forward. One of such ways is that preferred by some people, and it appears that the federal government is beginning to adopt that, and that issue is the issue of state police. Ocheko, I want to ask you as to whether you accept that or you don't accept that. Let me ask you, is it a potent step taken by the federal government and the confederating states for the establishment of state police? Is it a step in the right direction to curb insecurity in the country?
I would say it is a step in the right direction when it comes to if Nigeria is a federation, in structuring the country in a proper way. And proper structuring of the country is one of the panaceas to a lot of the challenges we are going to get. Will it solve the problem? Let us look at the immediate term.
Okay.
I doubt it is going to sort out the problem. Today in Nigeria you have Ametokun.
Yes, we do.
Yes, Ametokun has more. Now, if you go to the southwest, you still have lot and lot of insecurity. In fact, the headsmen are going around. In the southwest, Ebubegu, yes. Even though Ebubegu is not as well structured as the Ametokun. Now, you go to the north, you have what they call, many states have what is called Hisbah police. Hisbah police is actually a religious police, you know, but they do act, except in Kano. I don't know any other state in the northwest especially where Hisbah is actually doing the job properly. You see the point? But even in Kano, you have so much insecurity. So the problem we have now is, fine, we do have this structure, even though it is not properly structured as of now because of the problems of, we still have the national police working, and then you have this, and we don't know the boundaries, how they cross. You understand? We have not seen any defined differences between what is your responsibility and what is this other person's responsibility. That may be one of the reasons why you still have this continuous case of insecurity, because you have clashes between them. I've seen a situation where the police had to go and arrest some people in a station controlled by Ametokun. So we have those kind of challenges for now. So truly, in the short term, it may not give us that solution we are looking for, because we need to sort out the problem possibly of personnel, possibly of politics, before we can even talk about this thing. You know, take for example in Akwa Ibom here, remember when we used to have machines going around carrying people everywhere. The government came in and said one of the problems of insecurity was because of the motorbikes that were going around, and they stopped motorbikes. But you look at the crime rate. Has
the crime rate not reduced?
It has not. I don't think so.
Maybe
it could have been more with this, but we have seen an increase in crime.
Or is it a change in operation?
Yeah, I think what happens is that those guys have moved, have evolved in their strategies. This is so you need to arrest this. You have to have a robust crime fighting structure to be able to sort out. So will this thing sort out this problem? Possibly, likely, but I'm looking at it at the long term. In the long term, it's going to sort out that problem, because if we keep on restructuring, so one of the problems of crime and so many of the challenges we have in our society is a lack of confidence in governance. And one of the things that will give us confidence is when we have when we start restructuring the country in the proper way.
Okay, just hold on your thoughts. We'll come back to the issue of operation and structuring of the state police.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about that issue of confidence in governance. A while ago, you had mentioned the issue of the political will in a part of our leaders to take step.
Yeah.
And now, let's talk about that issue of confidence. Confidence from the people as it relates to our leaders.
Yes.
What does that got to do with insecurity?
Yeah, it has, because you know we are shadows following like a shadow of a person. You know, just like a child in the home. The child is your shadow. What you do is what the child will follow and do. So we are shadows following our leaders. The steps they take shows us exactly where they want to go. The persons they bring around them. If a leader brings criminals around him, certainly you're going to see a criminal will be a role model for a young person. And you look at society today, when we were younger, we had better role models. we had better role models. I cannot say the same with Odinaka today. If Odinaka takes a step to do the right thing, it is maybe simply because of a religious upbringing or something. You know, like somebody once said, he said in abroad, the fear of the law makes you do what is right. In Nigeria, it's only the fear of God that will make you do what is right, because the law doesn't seem to work. But if we have a government that starts putting structures in place gradually, it will build confidence in the mind of the people. Now let me take you to some countries in West Africa. Look at what Burkina Faso is doing now. One of the challenges they were having was that so many young men were joining this terrorist organization. The same terrorist challenge we have in Nigeria is happening there. So what did the head of state do? What he did was to, create opportunities for these young men. Go to the farms, they clear the farms of these terrorists. Give the farmers seedlings, give them some finances, and then lay pipes for water, because it's a very dry country. Now, massive millions and millions of hectares of land today is being watered, because there are water boreholes everywhere being put across the country. So when a leader is doing what is right and creating opportunity, people take that. There are some people who are maybe criminally minded, but they don't have that leadership, to go into crime, except some other person leads them into it. So like now in Burkina Faso, you saw that the terrorists were leading these young men into the life of crime because there were no opportunities created. Now the government has come in to create opportunities for these young people, and they don't see any reason for them to follow the terrorists again. So most of them are moving from the life of crime to a life of doing right and working hard for themselves. This is the thing. So that's why sociologists say that crime and poverty has got a one-to-one relationship. When you see so much poverty, certainly you're going to see crime. You see the point? But when you have a government like in Nigeria today, if the government says we are restructuring, you see the point? It creates confidence in the mind of people, okay, that this government has started to go in the right direction. And people will have that belief, people will have that faith, and they will start following the people.
Mr. Twekong, you had mentioned about confidence, and then
Yes.
Basi had also, asked a question on that. But a lot of people believe that the reality is that to solve the problem of insecurity in Nigeria, it goes beyond state policing. And it has to do with the different social elements which you had actually mentioned, which is the failure of governance, a high level of unemployment and underemployment, youth restiveness, climate change, religion, ethnicity, and then political aggrandizement. Can you speak on the topic of religion? How does it impede the success of fighting insecurity in Nigeria?
The real truth, let us face the fact, the real problem is not religion. Religion is simply used as a tool to get these people into this thing. Okay, look at the Northeast, for example. You know the real reason why those guys joined Boko Haram? You had some people who will say that, look, Boko Haram can take care of us. Even better, they were giving food to those people, even paying them salaries. So when you have so much poverty in the land, it is a ready-made ground for you to recruit people into doing what is bad. The reason for those things was that there was so much poverty, and that is why the boys followed those guys.
I'm sorry to interject. I just beg your pardon. But really, I love that you speak more on this. If you say a religion is just a tool, we have before now, Boko Haram had propagated that, in fact, they posited that the reason they are coming out, maiming people, bombing mosques and churches is because, in fact, Boko Haram is simply means prohibition against Western education.
Yeah.
So if you say religion has nothing to do with insecurity, let's situate it with what we have in the country. The Boko Haram cases, the Boko Haram spit. Would you readily say that religion does not have it? It's just used as a tool?
Yeah, I think so. I go back to it. I stand firm on my position. It is simply used as a tool. I mean, the man is saying Western education is bad, and yet he makes his propaganda video on a Western made tool, like the internet and all that. He's using an AK-47, which is not made in any way than in the Western world. Yeah, you getting me? So they themselves, you see, it is the money. Now, you look at what is happening. If you trade the money, and you find out the reason for insecurity in Nigeria and most African countries. It is the mineral on the ground, and it is the monies, it is the poverty on ground too that is causing the problem. The resources on the ground is not benefiting the people. So you have those people who will exploit that gap, that lacuna, let me say so. You understand me? To now bring these people into it. You saw, when you see able-bodied, energetic men in Malawi, a research was done, or something was done. I think somebody went there in a particular zone in the capital where you have so much crime rate, and then they started this sport development. A lot of young men were given opportunity to do one sport or the other. They noticed a drastic, about 90% drop in the rate of crime. You see the point? So when you now give these young men an alternative route to exert their energy, most of them will not go into the life of crime. That is where it is. So we need to have, so when we are saying we need to have that kind of thing. So when you see in Nigeria now that there's no alternative route for them to exert their energy, what happens? It is who are offering them this opportunity. It is those who are into this thing. Those ones who want to compromise government, like the Boko Haram and all that, and those who are mining the different resources in those places, who will simply offer stipends to those boys. Come in here, this is the ideology, it appeals to them, and then they simply join.
All right, Toeko, we are on to several challenges, several challenges, the way forward. And today we are critically looking at the issue of insecurity. But it is not just talking about insecurity. We are preferring solutions to see how we can tackle this and bring it down to its lowest ebb. According to our guest here sitting with us, the Toeko, he says if we actually divert the energy of the youth in this country, if we divert it to more productive venture, then crime reduction will be the result of this. Well, for him, that is one of the solutions. We need to ensure that our youths are engaged in productive venture, create employment, and when their energies are diverted to these areas, then insecurity would be brought to its lowest ebb, or, according to him, would be totally eradicated. Well, let's move, take a little bit further as we find solutions to all of these. Some pundits have said that one of the reasons we have insecurity in the country, now we want to look at the operational capacity of the security agencies we have. Some have said that our security agencies are not properly well trained on contemporary modalities for the fight against insecurity. They say that they don't know about or most of them don't understand what we call GPS trackers, or they don't even use it. Issues of drones, forensic analysis tools, IMSI charters, techniques such as triangulation, blockchain technology deployment in big data, financial monitoring software, if you may, and several other issues like that. Now the question is, the challenge of insecurity we are having in our country, is it as a result of poor technical know-how?
Well, we have a myriad of problems with our security operation. I always like pointing out what is happening in the Sahel region. What we have in Nigeria happened there, and in just less than a year, they have been able to sort out that problem. The primary problem is that we don't have the political will, like I said. Our leaders don't have it.
How political will to do what? Political will to train on use of GPS trackers. I'm sorry to cut you short. For instance, you have some Boko Haram members who would put a call across to their members as to regards the operation, but yet it is difficult to have them tracked.
Yes.
And so why do we have that? Do we put that on the issue of a compromise by some security personnel who are in there with them? Is it as a result of poor intelligence gathering? We have the Nigerian Security Nigerian Intelligence Agency and several other intelligence agencies like that. Is it poor gathering of intelligence or general corruption within the security apparatus?
When you have the political will as a leader, like I said, when you look at it, is not a rocket science today. The stories they used to tell us, when you look at the Sahel region, we look at the countries of Mali, Niger. Mali now has totally eradicated. They had the same quality of the same terrorist organizations like we have in Nigeria. And you look at what is happening in a country like Mozambique. You understand me? So it boils down to primarily the political will to sort out those endemic problems. Like I said, you have the problem of endemic corruption. You have a problem of systemic corruption because of the system, the structure of the Nigerian security apparatuses are so corrupted, you know, to a point that it is not possible. You know, the structure of the system is such that there is no way you can go there and do right.
So what's the way forward? The
way forward is for the president, the people who are control. In fact, the president himself want to put the right people in place and to give them a time frame and to deliver results. And you see things will work out.
How and where do we get these right people?
Number one, they are there. They are there even in the military. They are there. If you speak with some of them, they will tell you these are the challenges. We saw videos of soldiers coming out to say, look, politicians should allow us to fight this insurgent. I mean, in Nigeria today, when soldiers are being used to protect cows, then you know that kind of securities.
That is quite speculative.
In Akwa Ibom, yes, it has happened. I've seen them in my village. In my village, yes, they have come. They have come in my village.
Maybe we had crisis in your village.
No, we didn't have. We didn't have. And I've seen videos of. I've seen videos. Listen, I've seen videos.
No, I'm sorry to cut you short, but I doubt if there is any service chief that would assign military personnel.
But we have seen several videos of this country where you see a cow header carrying AK-47, talking with soldiers. We saw in Benue State when the immediate past governor of Benue State wanted to sort out the problem of herdsmen killing people in this country. The Mieti Allah came with truckloads of their boys carrying AK-47. Now let me tell you, in Benue State, the largest Air Force base in West Africa is there. You have the NASME that has the special forces of the Nigerian military in what is called the North Bank of Benue State. They are there. These are special forces. Like you have the American SEAL team and all that. You understand? They are there. And the commanders of those places were present when the Mietiela came with truckload of men with AK-47. None of them were arrested. Is it the point? So these are the endemic problems. These are systemic structural problems we have. Ethnicity can come in to corrupt the structure, you know, and then because the moment you how do they call it? This tribalism, when you bring ethnicity into a structure like the military, you know, corruption must set in. You know, you look at America. Before you had the civil rights movement, the American military had sorted out the problem of any black racism. There was nothing like you are black, you are white, stay here. No, everybody, as long as you are an American soldier, you stay together.
So how do we curb this endemic and systemic
Yes,
corruption?
because in the military you need immediate result. So you cannot do what we are doing in Nigeria today, where you say a quota system, go to the northwest. No, you pick the best, like we do in the Super Eagles. We don't say, oh, let us give quota to the northwest in the Super Eagles. Let us give quota to the northeast. Let the best materials be taken into the military. But today you don't have that kind of. So the structure is wrong when you say, oh, let us go to the north. Kano State must give 10 people. Lagos State must give 5 people. This, that. That is one of the immediate problem we have. And everybody is trying to protect his own constituency. So, and there's no way you do that, you don't have corruption. In America, they don't do that. They even encourage young people to go into the military. They advertise the military. If you want to go in there, they encourage you to go in. You see the point? But that is not what you have in Nigeria. So until we sort out that problem, these systemic challenges we have, we cannot stop the endemic corruption in the military, and that is one of the. And we need a president with the political will to say, I want to take a step and make sure I sort out the problem of insecurity.
Mr. Twicom, you've said that we need a leader, with the political will.
Yes.
And let me take you back that in October 2023, the current president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had set up a constitutional review committee to carry out comprehensive police reform. Is that not a way of curbing the systemic, issues in the police force?
We've had so many reform papers in the past. Has Mr. President gone there to carry those old papers to see what were the recommendations of those papers? Look at the Oronsaye report. Even the police is there.
The Oronsaye report was during Goodluck's
yes, it's 13 years now before they came out.
So Mr. President has done well to come
to bring it back, and bring it back. But let us see how deep he's going to go into, because even in the military they are talking about, in the Oronsaye report, they talk about the police, the road safety and other this and that are doing similar duties. A VIO, why are they doing it? They should be mentioned to one.
You really think they are doing the same
that is a recommendation of Oronsaye. I remember Oronsaye was a head of service, so he should know these things very well. He talked about the road safety, talked about certain other units that we don't even know
we
about.
We critically looked at last week.
That they are doing almost the same thing, that they shouldn't be different, So let us see how deep Mr. President is going to go to implement this report, to see the seriousness, not even because of the report itself, but because of the confidence that the implementation will give to Nigerians as a whole. Is he going to go that deep? Because some of those implementation must involve a parliamentary effort, a supplementary adjustment of the laws, or what they call it. There are certain things that are act of the constitution. There are certain of those structures that, like the wages and social commission and the revenue mobilization, they say it's not supposed to be the same with the creation of the constitution. So you cannot adjust, you cannot just match those people together without going to the National Assembly to do what do they call it at the National Assembly. They have to work on it and then change that law to make it happen. So is he going to go there and tell the lawmakers, this is what we want? Let us see how far he can go.
Otweko, we'll come back to you. We are still on the Nigeria civil challenges, but our focus today is on the issue of insecurity. What's the way forward as far as that is concerned in our country? How do we curb insecurity? Because experts have said that where we are able to tackle issues of insecurity in the country, then we must have been able to tackle several issues. It has a spiral positive effect. Well, we'll come back to the issue of creating the state police. That is where we had anchored and we are anchoring. Let's take a slant and look into some other issues. This time around, Otweko, let's take a bite on the recommendation of some state governors. One of such state governor is the governor of Borno State and the governor of Plateau State, that Nigerians should be allowed to go with guns. That if we are allowed to go with guns and the next person standing by or who comes perhaps to attack, knowing too well that you're armed, will either down his tool or totally forget about the issue of attacking you. Well, peradventure it happens that we would be able to defend ourselves. Nigerian leaders are beginning to call for self-defense and for the government to allow us go with guns. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think Nigerians having guns is very rare. If you look at the American Constitution, they allow Americans to own guns. In fact, actually, the idea was not just to allow Americans to own guns. It was to allow militias to be there, because the right of the American is with the people. It's not with the government like you see in Nigeria today. So the people have a right. In fact, the militias are given the power and authority. If the government is not doing right, you have a right to say, well, I don't want to belong to this union. That is one of the things you saw when Biden was, sworn in, and you had that problem at the Capitol building in Washington. Until today, have you heard any of them? How many of them have been in jail or something? Not because they are being protected by their law. You see the point? So instead of saying every Nigerian should own gun, I would rather say that communities should be allowed to form militias who should defend that community. Yes, communities should be allowed. In my village now, we have people who defend it, but they don't own guns, they carry knives. And sometimes if those boys come, they will run away. But if militia, because you look at the adverse effect of everybody owning guns, somebody will go and then maybe attack somebody, even though Nigerians
are very flimsy ground.
Mr. Twicom, that was where I was coming to, because in the early days of January, Senator Ned Nwoko had made mention, or was in support of this, that the people of Nigeria should be allowed to arm themselves. But he also went further to say that they should allow law-abiding citizens to possess firearms.
Certainly.
Now, how do you determine who is a law-abiding citizen?
Well, you see, normally in America, let us go back to a nation that has this kind of law, or say like Switzerland, virtually everybody owns
I really love it. I appreciate that you're situating your cases in the United States.
Yes, because this is a country now, they do what is called background checks, even though it's not very, very effective. But it's very effective in a country like Switzerland. They do a lot of background checks. So they check you whether you have any past criminal record. They do a lot of checks before they give you the right to be able to purchase the guns. You understand? So that is one of the things that should be done in Nigeria.
Is that possible in Nigeria?
Well, that's a challenge.
We are struggling to have data. When you're struggling to have data, in several villages you have people who put to bed and we have no records. We have people who kill and run down to one village like that and they are not seen. If you make a mistake and transfer mistakenly your money to another account, you will sweat before you get it back. And the person in whose account you transfer the money, it would be at large. It will be very difficult to track such a person. So you think that no matter whatever background checks we would do, that it is a potent and beautiful idea to allow Nigerians go with arms.
The challenge we have in Nigeria is a peculiar challenge. Most of these structure or policies may be corrupted when it comes to Nigeria.
We put you in the position of Mr. President because we sit back at home and say, Mr. President should do this, Mr. President should do this. You now occupy the seat of Mr. President. And let's have your take on how this can be solved.
I will go back to using a militia. Having groups in the community who should take, for example, you go to like the Northeast today, those vigilante groups who are helping to fight Boko Haram, they are not allowed to carry guns. But if they are allowed to carry guns, most of these invasions will not happen. The attacks you see like in Plateau State will not happen because the community there would have weapons to be able to defend themselves. And when those guys know that, look, the AK-47 I'm carrying or whatever, those other men have it too, they will stop it. And the militias will be better organized, will be under some law and authority, known by, like we have vigilantes now, even in our community, that are known by the police, that the ones who will call the police if they are criminal activities within that area. Like in my area, we do that a lot. You see the point? So that is the kind of thing that we should be having.
So the militia should not be armed? Because
no, they should
because the mentality of a militia is that these ones are armed.
No, the militia should be armed, but they should be not. These militias are persons from the community, not brought in to come and guard. People from that village. People from that community.
Is that not akin to
a state police? Well, something like that. But even when you have situations like this where you cannot sort out the criminal situation in your state, you need to go ahead. America, they have police, even community police, local government have police, town have police. But the American, you see, they can't really say hi. And then you still have what do you call it? You still have people owning guns, protecting themselves.
So if the crime rate is still high, even when they have community police, they have state police, they have federal police, we even still have some people who are armed, yet the crime rate is this high.
Yeah, you find
young people who get into high schools and shot their fellow.
It happens a lot.
Students.
It happens a lot in America. But you look at other countries, like I use a country like Switzerland. They have a lot of firearms. In fact, I think a higher rate than even in America. Just about America has the highest in the world. There are more arms in America than even the population of the country. You understand? So these are the challenges we're having now. But in Switzerland, virtually everybody owns a gun, and yet you don't have any crime. So sometimes the culture of the people, but our own. In some time past, we didn't have this kind of situation. So it is not in our culture. It must be something that has to do with maybe politics or certain economic situations that has besetted Nigeria in recent times. This is the challenges we are having. So how do you sort it out? If you have militia, can it stop this thing? I think in the mid-term, it can stop it.
You made mention of culture.
Yes.
And then what we've seen over time is that sometimes this people, they are being set up, and then at the end they're hijacked by some persons, like you had earlier mentioned, sponsorship.
Yes.
So don't you see that playing out again?
No, the militias won't be, because why I'm saying so, militia number one will be registered. Right now, in several of our streets in Uyo, you have vigilante groups who are linked to the police. They have the number, the police know them, they know the police. That they want, if there's any armed robbery attack, they will call the police. Maybe they cannot face the situation. If another person calls, maybe the police may not come in Nigeria. So they will call the police. You understand me? And the police would come there quicker if they call. Even though at the long term, the real challenges we have in Nigeria today is that we need to have good policing. That is the thing. We don't have enough police, number one. Number two, police are not properly trained. If you have a well-trained police, in America, you have a time frame that the police are supposed to arrive. If there's any crime, any call, they're supposed to give some, depending on the distance. They are distant 2 minutes, they're supposed to be there 5 minutes. If they don't come, they are queried, why didn't you come? But in Nigeria today, you call the police. This is where I talk about the systemic corruption you have, which is endemic. You call the police now. The police will ask you for money for fuel. That is what I mean. I'm talking about personal experience. We don't have money to buy fuel and come to your place. That is one of the challenges you're seeing. And where is the money? Because you have billions or trillions of naira being budgeted for policing in Nigeria. Where has that money gone? It means the money has not trickled down to the rank and file, to the people. Policemen are buying their uniforms today. These are those things the Mr. President must have the political will to say, I have to stop it. These are the challenges we are facing.
We are having Otuekong Ekere, who is bearing his mind and thoughts on this very important issue, finding solutions to Nigeria's several challenges. But this time around, you're situating it, fixating it on the issue of insecurity. And he is preferring solutions, according to him, on the ways we should naturally take as a country to have these drastically reduced. All right, Otuekong, as we gradually ground to a pause, because this series continues about the next 2 to 3 weeks. Let's look at this again from another perspective, perhaps as we move to an end for today's episode. The issue of politics and insecurity. But when we talk about politics, we want to quickly identify the process of having our leaders. Political culture and political processes. Many Nigerians are saying that there is need for us to have independence candidate or independence candidature system, that where that is possible, the issue of a do or die affair in becoming a candidate of a particular political party would not arise, and to that extent this issue of insecurity would to a very large extent reduce. Do you share in such a thought that our political processes and culture has aggravated the issue of insecurity in the country.
Yeah, but it's true. But I don't even understand why in a democracy, in a liberal democracy like Nigeria, we have fixed in our laws a system that does not allow for an independent candidate. I don't know where that is happening. In every way in the world, you have independent candidacy. I mean, because politics is supposed to be about ideology. If you don't accept the ideology of this person, you should run for any office you feel like running. And that will help us, because we will throw up certain persons, you know, because the moment you go into a political structure, the tendency for unnecessary compromises may be there. You know, you talk about, they say structure, you need to have this structure to do this or that. So these are the compromises that is causing much of this problem. And when somebody feels, you know, if the person doesn't have any kind of goodwill or good mind,
you don't need the Godfather.
Yes, you know, in a situation where you go and you lose, the tendency is that if you are not a good person, you can sponsor what is not good in the country, and that's what you're seeing. One of the challenges we see here is bad political culture. Our leadership recruitment process is very bad. You know, it's very bad. It is throwing up the worst persons. You know, we talk about prebendalism. Prebendalism is a political culture where those in power believe they have rights to the treasury of the state. And then in Nigeria today, you have what is called, they call kakistocracy. It's a system of government where the worst citizens of the country are now becoming leaders. I read something.
But that's not in Nigeria.
Are you sure?
No, it's not in Nigeria.
But let us first fact. We have people even at the center, let me say so, who have criminal records. I can. It is in the open domain. We have the chief of staff to the president who was.
No, that was just a mere allegation.
No, he wasn't. He was sentenced in America. He was sentenced. There was a plea bargain. He was sentenced. He can't hold a job. He cannot enter America on his own, except through the back of Mr. President. That is the truth. You have many of them like that in this government who have that. And in a place where they cannot hold a job, why should you take them to another country and you hand over the highest position in the land to? That is wrong. And nobody is saying anything. This is the challenges we're having. They have it. You have many of them like that. You have even a governor in this country who was jailed. He's a governor presently. So you see, that is what is called kakistocracy, a system of government where the worst citizens of government and the country. Now, but you know, at times you cannot hold them alone responsible, because what kind of society throws up such people into the highest positions of authority? There's something wrong with us as a people. Are you getting me? There's something, because Benjamin Disraeli said, a people get the kind of leader they deserve. So you have to ask and say, do we deserve what we are getting?
No, let me ask you, do we deserve what we are getting?
Well, maybe, because this is what we are having. You know, I remember I was reading something just yesterday in the night about the former Mongol, Genghis Khan. When he went to conquer people, he told them, you must have committed a very bad crime. That is why God sent me as a punishment to you. So sometimes we need to ask ourselves question: what crime did we commit as a country that we are suffering? Look, Nigeria is not getting better.
All right, okay. Well, Ojogo, Nigeria is getting better. If we have the president put few things in place, and he's coming to give us the hope and telling us modalities he has put in place, strategies adopted by him, then we need to go with that. That Nigeria is getting better.
But you know, Akwa Ibom said House of Assembly members, they are going to Rwanda. Whether they have gone?
I
hope to pray to God that they go there to see what is happening in that country.
I will gradually come to Akwa Ibom State as we round off this session. The insecurity in Akwa Ibom State, the governor of the state had said that he would stop at nothing at ensuring that Akwa Ibom State is a safe place. The commissioner of police that has just been posted to Akwa Ibom State had also mentioned that. And we have relative peace as far as the state is concerned. Should the federal government borrow leave from Akwa Ibom State in tackling insecurity in the country?
Well, I will not say, let me be very honest, as much as I support Governor Pastor Mobaseno, the governor, and a lot of things he's doing, I like the steps he's going. I know his limitations as a human being and the challenges he's facing. I will say that whatever peace you see in Akwa Ibom is not due to any government. It is due to the fact that we abhor violence, we abhor confrontation. That is
You really think so?
Yes.
What happened?
That is primarily.
Some years ago, we had a crisis in some local governments. Let me not mention them. Some local governments across the state,
Yeah.
and the governor, the immediate past governor, rose to the occasion and nipped it on the bud.
I think
so. If you say that we just naturally abhor violence, that may not be totally wrong.
It is not.
But sometimes human tendency pushes one to commission of crime. So would you?
I will not say human tendency.
Will you totally say that the government does not have a hand in the peace and tranquility that we have in the state?
When you have this politically determined violence you see in the state, the government has stepped in. That is beautiful. The governor is part and parcel of the state, and he abhors violence. Those in government abhors violence. But you notice that whenever the government steps in, the Akwa Ibom people simply lay down their arms. They don't fight. You see, so it goes boils down to
your point
yes,
now.
that we as whenever you see this violence, before you know it, our people don't like violence of any kind. I tell you this, I know a private school in this state. The principal is from another, is owned by church. The principal is from some other place. And the man is bringing in people from outside the state to come and school there. And he said, there's so much peace in this state. I tell you, so it is the people. I come from a community that fought cross-border war for more than 10 years. And I can tell you, we have peace with the neighbor. We don't have any issue. And is it really because government? Yes, government stepped in. But that peace is actually due to the fact that the two communities have really seen that, look, we don't need to keep on fighting. You know, because there are some people who are behind. You know, let me tell you one thing about this violence. Just like the one in Eke, you know that profiteers, what profiteers? There are people who profit from the people fighting. Either by the money
it's everywhere in the it's everywhere in the world.
The world, yes. So that is it. So
Jordan, you're parting short.
Yeah.
Yes, a short term. If you were Mr. President, or if you were the governor of the state, a short term measure that one would adopt to nip insecurity or to reduce it across the country and in the state, what would be your short term measure?
Yeah, I think it's to fight the corruption in our security institutions. That's primarily the problem. If you fight it, because we don't fight that corruption, the structure you put in place is going to be corrupted subsequently. So what we need to do is to fight that corruption first. And when we fight the corruption, then the restructuring, very simple for you to have state police. But if you have this corruption you are seeing today, by the time you go to state police, that corruption is like cancer. It will metastasize to that same thing, and the same challenge we are having will continue. That's the thing.
All right, that is how far we can go. Otuekon, thank you so much. Very robust in thoughts. And we hope that government will take both short, middle, and long-term measures to ensure that Nigeria is a safe place for all of us. Don't forget that we are having a series, anchoring on a series. There are several challenges we are facing as a country, but this time around we are looking at the way forward. Enough of mentioning these challenges. The time is for us to find a solution to it. Let's do this again next week. On behalf of all the crew, we thank you so much. Ekebisi is the place to be. Do have a swell weekend. My name is Basi and
I am Ordinaka Chuku Ihianacho.
Thank you. Thank you.